moonlit shadows of Benghazi harbor, Italian sentries observed movement. Their vigilance was tested as a figure approached, presenting himself as a high-ranking staff officer, reprimanding the guard commander for lax security. The sentries, momentarily disoriented, accepted his authority as he excoriated them in fluent Italian, warning of potential Allied saboteurs. This audacious individual, Fitzroy Maclean, then passed through the gate, his British uniform expertly concealed, having once again navigated a perilous situation through strategic audacity. Maclean's inclination for unconventional methods was already established. In February 1937, at 25, he sought a more challenging role than the diplomatic circles of Paris. He requested a transfer to Moscow amidst Stalin's Great Purge, entering a world of intense NKVD surveillance. While colleagues adhered to strict protocols, Maclean pursued an insatiable curiosity for forbidden Central Asian territories. He undertook unauthorized journeys across the Caspian and Aral Seas, reaching Uzbekistan and the Tian Shan Mountains. NKVD agents assigned to his surveillance frequently found themselves outmaneuvered, led on exhausting treks, or simply evaded in crowded thoroughfares. A critical incident occurred near Lenkoran, Azerbaijan, where local NKVD agents arrested him at gunpoint. Faced with implied execution, Maclean, fluent in Russian, produced official papers. He boldly declared these documents granted him unrestricted travel, issuing severe warnings against impeding a British diplomat. Unbeknownst to his captors, the papers were merely an outdated May Day parade invitation. The agents, unable to read Russian, released him with apologies, fearing repercussions from Moscow.
September 1930.
With the outbreak of war in 1939, Maclean returned to Britain, eager for direct military engagement. However, his expertise on the Soviet Union rendered him too valuable for frontline service, assigning him to the Foreign Office's Russian desk. Frustrated, he discovered a regulatory loophole. Foreign Office employees elected to Parliament were compelled to resign. Campaigning for the 1941 Lancaster by-election, he secured a seat, promptly resigned, and enlisted as a private in the Queen's Own Cameron Highlanders. This extraordinary transition from aristocratic diplomat to common soldier drew a jocular remark from Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Commissioned as a lieutenant, Maclean was dispatched to Cairo, initially for a planned but ultimately shelved mission to sabotage Soviet oil fields. It was there he encountered David Stirling, a figure whose unconventional vision would soon redefine special operations. Fitzroy Maclean's talent for unconventional action led him to David Stirling's newly formed Special Air Service, SAS. This unit specialized in deep penetration raids, targeting Axis airfields and supply depots behind enemy lines in North Africa. Initially parachute deployed, the SAS soon utilized the Long Range Desert Group, LRDG, for precise insertion, enabling operations hundreds of miles behind Rommel's Africa Corps. These tactics proved effective, disrupting logistics and destroying enemy aircraft on the ground. In May 1942, Stirling planned an audacious strike on Benghazi, a critical Axis supply port. The mission? Infiltrate the harbor, reconnoiter facilities, identify German supply vessels, and destroy them. On May 21st, a modified Ford station wagon disguised as a German staff car but carrying 6 British commandos in uniform, including Maclean, Stirling, and Randolph Churchill, headed for Benghazi. A persistent, high-pitched mechanical screech compromised their stealth. Approaching the town, an Italian roadblock materialized. Maclean, leveraging his fluency, confronted armed sentries. Presenting himself as a German staff officer in a hurry, he secured passage. Inside Benghazi, an Allied air raid was underway, complicating operations. A pursuing vehicle forced Stirling into evasive maneuvers through narrow streets. The compromised vehicle necessitated a change of plans. A timed explosive was set within the wagon. The team continued on foot towards the waterfront with demolition charges and inflatable boats. Maclean again employed deception, engaging an Italian officer. He feigned anxiety about British ground forces, prompting the officer to inadvertently confirm the absence of immediate enemy suspicion. At the harbor perimeter, another Italian sentry challenged them. Maclean, adopting a weary persona, claimed a motor accident and sought hotel directions. The sympathetic guard allowed passage. Inside the harbor, both inflatable boats failed due to damage. With explosive placement impossible, the mission shifted to intelligence gathering. As they prepared to exit, two Italian guards approached. Maclean, instead of evasion, confronted the guard commander at the main gate. He launched a calculated tirade, criticizing lax security and postulating British saboteurs. The embarrassed commander permitted their departure with guards saluting. The team later reunited, hid through daylight, and resumed reconnaissance the following night, observing torpedo boats. They departed Benghazi in their distinctive vehicle, again passing unchallenged through the initial roadblock. Though no ships were destroyed, the operation yielded significant intelligence regarding Benghazi's defenses. It underscored the efficacy of daring improvisation and psychological warfare, particularly Maclean's ability to navigate perilous encounters through sheer force of personality, even while in British uniform. By late 1942, Fitzroy Maclean's operational focus had shifted to the Middle East, specifically within the Persia and Iraq Command. British intelligence in Tehran had identified a critical strategic vulnerability. General Fazlollah Zahedi, commander of Persian forces in the Isfahan region, was actively undermining Allied interests. Evidence indicated Zahedi was accumulating substantial grain reserves, engaging in clandestine communications with German operatives, and reportedly orchestrating a nationalist uprising. Such a development risked shifting Persia into the Axis sphere, a strategic outcome that would gravely jeopardize the entire Allied position across the Middle East. Maclean received direct orders for a highly sensitive operation, to apprehend General Zahedi alive and without provoking a wider incident. An overt military action carried the significant risk of triggering the very insurgency they aimed to prevent. In response, Maclean conceived an audacious Trojan horse strategy. The core of the plan involved a seemingly innocuous courtesy visit. Maclean, accompanied by a senior British officer, would call upon Zahedi at his fortified residence. Once granted entry into the general's walled and guarded compound, the objective was a swift, pistol-point arrest. Zahedi would then be covertly transported in their staff vehicle to a waiting aircraft for internment. This approach was inherently perilous, require voluntary entry into a potentially hostile general stronghold to effect a kidnapping. To mitigate the immense risk of failure and ensure a secure withdrawal, Maclean meticulously trained and strategically deployed a platoon of Seaforth Highlanders positioned to provide immediate support should the operation falter. The intricate plan proceeded with remarkable precision. General Zahedi was successfully apprehended and subsequently flown to British Palestine for internment. This decisive action compelled the German government to dismantle its entire intelligence network within Persia, neutralizing a significant Axis threat without widespread conflict. By 1943, Brigadier Maclean's track record of successful, high-risk operations garnered Prime Minister Winston Churchill's direct attention. Churchill, already familiar with Maclean, had a critical assignment. Intelligence revealed armed communist groups, known as Partisans, led by a mysterious Tito, were significantly disrupting German forces in Yugoslavia. London possessed minimal information on Tito, theorizing an acronym, a rotating position, or even a female leader. Previous British attempts to gather comprehensive reports were hampered by intense combat. Churchill required a trusted operative with specific qualifications, communist understanding, linguistic proficiency, and proven behind enemy lines experience. Maclean met these requirements. On July 25, 1943 at Chequers, Churchill briefed Maclean. The mission's urgency intensified with news of Mussolini's resignation that evening. Church emphasized the immediate need to pressure German forces across the Adriatic, declaring the mission more important than ever, given Italy's crumbling German position. Maclean, a conservative MP and witness to Stalin's purges, voiced concerns about the Partisans' communist ideology and Yugoslavia's post-war future. Churchill's response prioritized pragmatic military objectives, stating the immediate task was to identify and support any force effectively engaging the Nazis, setting aside long-term political considerations. On September 17, 1943, Maclean and his team parachuted into Bosnia near Mrkonjić Grad. Partisan guides led them to WWII, Tito's headquarters and a ruined medieval castle. The enigmatic Tito was revealed as Josip Broz, a 51-year-old former metal worker turned military commander. Their initial exchange, conducted in German and Russian, allowed for mutual assessment. Maclean outlined Britain's intention to bolster partisan combat capabilities through assessment, coordinated supply drops, and air support. Tito promptly agreed, recognizing the critical need for British provisions following Italy's recent capitulation to prevent German reoccupation of the Adriatic coast. The discussion shifted to the Chetniks, a rival resistance movement previously supported by Britain, loyal to the exiled king. Reports indicated Chetnik inaction against German forces, with some intelligence suggesting collaboration. Tito unequivocally stated his attempts to cooperate with General Mihailovich had failed, citing Chetnik indiscipline, demoralization, and widespread collaboration. Regarding King Peter II's potential return, Tito stipulated his return as a soldier, not a sovereign, affirming Yugoslavia's post-war governmental structure would be determined by its populace. Maclean then addressed London's key concern, whether a new Yugoslavia would retain independence or become a Soviet satellite. Tito's response asserted the immense sacrifices made for Yugoslav independence, conveying that such a hard-won prize would not be lightly relinquished. Maclean's initial observations confirmed the partisan movement: young, disciplined, austere, and self-sufficient. Their combat effectiveness required direct verification. A Royal Navy supply mission to Korčula offered this, Maclean leading reconnaissance through partisan-held areas and active combat zones. The expedition, commencing October 5, 1943, involved a captured train from WWII to Bugojno, followed by foot travel through war-torn villages. Near Kupres, partisan units engaged German forces directly. Maclean observed coordinated partisan formations, not scattered guerrillas, engaging German divisions in sustained combat. Officers like Kocha Popovich commanded disciplined troops, demonstrating sophisticated military operations. Evidence indicated partisans tied down 12 to 20 German divisions. Conversely, British reports on Mihailovich's Chetniks cited inactivity, low morale, and Axis collaboration. Maclean's report to Churchill was unequivocal. Partisans were the most effective resistance. British aid to Chetniks was diverted against partisans, hindering Allied objectives. He recommended terminating Mihailovich aid, redirecting full support to Tito. By early November 1943, Maclean presented findings in Cairo to Foreign Secretary Anthony Eden prior to the Tehran Conference. The report challenged Britain's alliance with King Peter II's government in exile, advocating support for a communist movement. At Tehran, Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin reviewed evidence, deciding on comprehensive partisan support. General Mihailovich received a final ultimatum: destroy 2 railway bridges by December 29th or face cessation of British aid and withdrawal of liaison missions. Tito sought to dispatch representatives Ivo Lolo Ribar and Miloja Milojevic to Cairo. German interdiction of the Dalmatian coast rendered maritime extraction impossible. Air extraction from Glimoch, an improvised Bosnian airfield, became the sole alternative, requiring fighter escort. Multiple British aircraft attempts failed due to weather. Facing imminent airfield loss, partisans prepared a captured German aircraft. On November 27th, as Ribar, Milojevic, and 2 British personnel prepared, a German observation aircraft executed a low-altitude attack. Precisely aimed bombs destroyed the partisan aircraft, killing Ribar and both British officers. Milojevic sustained severe injuries. This tragedy escalated the extraction's priority. On December 3, Maclean returned aboard a Dakota transport with Lightning fighters providing air cover. The aircraft landed in daylight, engines running for rapid boarding by a four-man British partisan team, including the wounded Milojevic. This group was successfully transported to Cairo. The mission, though costly, solidified the direct operational link between partisans and Allied command, enabling enhanced cooperation. By early 1944, the Wehrmacht's strategic position in Yugoslavia had deteriorated significantly. Partisan forces, bolstered by consistent Allied supply drops and air support, effectively neutralized substantial German resources across the region. In April, while Brigadier Maclean engaged in high-level London discussions concerning Yugoslavia's future, German command initiated a major airborne assault on Tito's headquarters at Drvar. This operation aimed to decapitate the partisan leadership, a critical objective for stabilizing the Balkan front. Despite the intensity of the attack, Tito narrowly evaded capture. His subsequent evacuation to Vis, an established Allied base, underscored the continued operational challenge for German forces. The strategic imperative for the Wehrmacht shifted in late summer 1944, an orderly withdrawal from Yugoslavia to establish more defensible positions further north. German High Command sought to preserve veteran divisions for the defense of the Reich, thereby potentially prolonging the conflict. Recognizing this, Maclean proposed Operation Ratweek, a coordinated seven-day offensive designed to transform the planned German retreat into disarray. This initiative received endorsement from the Balkan Air Force, Royal Navy, General Wilson, and Tito's partisan units. Maclean personally supervised the operation from Serbia. Near Leskovac, 50 American heavy bombers executed devastating strikes, turning German positions into smoke and debris. Simultaneously, partisan ground forces targeted vital communication and supply arteries, notably the Belgrade-Salonika Railway. Bridges were destroyed, rail lines rendered impassable, and German repair efforts were systematically thwarted by Allied air interdiction. Attempts by German units to evacuate by air were similarly suppressed by Allied fighters. As the German retreat intensified, Maclean proceeded towards Belgrade. He observed the final Wehrmacht withdrawal across the Danube into Zemun, closely pursued by Soviet forces. On October 27th, Tito entered the liberated capital. While political complexities, including Tito's unsanctioned coordination with Moscow, remained, the organized German presence in Yugoslavia had effectively collapsed. Operation Ratweek significantly contributed to this outcome, preventing the orderly withdrawal of critical German divisions and disrupting their strategic consolidation. The war in Yugoslavia concluded with the Wehrmacht in full retreat. Maclean's 18-month tenure in Yugoslavia culminated in the formation of a unified government by early 1945. His pivotal role in drafting agreements and facilitating communication between London and Belgrade fundamentally reshaped the trajectory of Yugoslavia's wartime experience and its post-conflict future. Maclean's comprehensive intelligence reports to Churchill directly influenced a critical shift in British policy, redirecting support from the royalist Chetniks to Tito's partisans. His coordination of Allied air cover and logistical supply drops demonstrably amplified the partisans' combat effectiveness. Furthermore, his unique personal rapport with Marshal Tito established a crucial communication channel between the communist leader and the Western Allies, a connection that proved indispensable during Tito's eventual break from Stalin in 1948. Following the cessation of hostilities, Maclean continued his public service, remaining a member of Parliament until 1974. He extensively documented his wartime experiences through numerous publications and maintained a lifelong friendship with Tito. His unique standing was recognized by the Yugoslav state, which permitted him, one of only 3 foreign nationals, to own property, a villa on the island of Korčula, where he regularly resided. Maclean's extraordinary wartime exploits, particularly his service with the Special Air Service and his mission in Yugoslavia, were widely acknowledged as a significant inspiration for Ian Fleming's iconic character, James Bond. While Maclean himself never officially confirmed this connection, The parallels were evident. A sophisticated, multilingual operative equally adept in diplomatic circles and clandestine operations behind enemy lines, frequently navigating impossible situations through sheer nerve and calculated improvisation. Sir Fitzroy Maclean passed away on June 15, 1996, at the age of 85. His contributions were recognized by multiple nations, including the Soviet Order of Kutuzov, France's Croix de Guerre, and Yugoslavia's Order of the Partisan Star. From his native Britain, he received the Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 1944, a baronetcy in 1957, and the Knight of the Thistle in 1994, among other distinctions. He once articulated his personal philosophy regarding audacious actions. If you showed a sufficiently blatant disregard for the laws of probability, and if, when you were where you had no business to be, you behaved as if you belonged there, there was practically nothing you could not get away with.